Not entirely sure that this is working. It should be working. Fingers crossed it's working. Totally new setup. So hopefully you guys can see me. Of course, I'm not sure how to best check that you can. I guess I could check on my phone. I have my phone here. Let's have a look. Now, of course, in the coming weeks, as I do more of these streams, you're going to get a better idea of how this should work. Well, let me rephrase that. I'm going to have a better idea of how this should work. I won't be unsure about things. So let me go and have a look. Are we live? Yeah, we're live. Cool. Right, if you are watching, please drop me a comment in the comment section so I can check that or in the live chat, I should say, so I can check that the live chat is working. When will I transcribe? Okay, when will I transcribe some Michael Romeo? I don't know if you know this, but I have transcribed more Michael Romeo than anybody I believe on the internet. All of his guitar chapter performances, transcribed in on my channel. The videos from his solo album, transcribed in on my channel. I've got videos breaking down Symphony X riffs. I don't need to do more Michael Romeo. Any plans to transcribe Lenny Breau or Chet Atkins? I don't really like Chet's playing all that much. When I think of Chet Atkins, I always think of Chet as being like a very refined player, a very clean and precise player. And in that lineage of players, you know, the Travis picking, if you like, you have the early proponents of that Kentucky thumb picking style, like the Mel Travis, like obviously very raw and raunchy sound. Chet comes along afterwards and is much, much more refined, and it feels like some of the attitude is lost in that. It's always very pretty and never very raw. And then I think of the players after that. I think of guys like Jerry Reed, and again, when I listen to Jerry's playing, it sounds raw, rambunctious. So I always think of Chet as that kind of safe part in the middle where, you know, he never really played with much attitude. So not really for me. But I actually really like Lenny Breau's playing. I really like Lenny Breau's playing. So it's saying I've got an error. What error is that? What do I need to change? Let's have a look. Sorry, guys. How is the video for you guys? Because it's telling me that I need to change the resolution of my stream. And obviously I don't really want to do that because I'll have to take the stream off. So assuming it's working, I'm going to keep going. Yeah. So yeah, Chris, it's not a new camera. No, these are the same cameras that I film all of my guided practice routines with. In fact, let's do this. These are the same cameras that I film all of my guided practice routines with, which you can get over on Patreon. Sorry. You know, along with hundreds of transcriptions and ear training videos and weekly guided practice routines, private lessons, and so much more. Yeah, these are the cameras that I use for that. I just don't have things set up for streaming because I don't do so much of it, but I'm going to be doing a lot more of it. So, yes. Let's keep going. Yeah, Lenny Breau. I really like Lenny's playing, and obviously he's more jazz and therefore cleaner, like Chet is. But because it's jazz, there's a lot more harmonically interesting stuff in there. The problem with Lenny is I can't find a video that I love. I have looked for a good one for YouTube, but I haven't found one that I love. So, did I ever hear of Matthew Mills? I don't know who that is. No, I can't say I have. Do I post performance videos of my own playing? Yeah, plenty of them on my channel, and plenty, far too many. Yeah, if you go on there, you can find videos of me playing, plenty. Good. I wasn't looking for transcriptions, suggestions, Ivor. But nice to see you, mate. Anyway, so shall we talk about stuff? So if you are watching this, then I would recommend, if you check out the link in the description, I've got a downloadable PDF and guitar profile, which is going to contain all of the notated examples that we're going to be looking at. Some of the notated examples are going to be a little bit shorter, and therefore I'll be able to have them on screen. But some of them are a little bit longer like this. So downloading the PDF and the guitar profile is definitely going to be the best way for you to get that material. So link in the description. Go and check that out and get yourself the PDF so you can practice along with me. And yeah. Other than that, of course, I am promoting. Voice audio is a bit quiet. Yep. I don't know that it is. I can see my levels and they look okay, so I'm not going to boost it much more than that. Anyway, we are here promoting the guided guitar arpeggio practice routine book, which is available now. And if you want to go and grab yourself a copy, it's available on Amazon. Because I've got to promote something, right? Anyway, let's jump on over to the guitar and we will start talking about the material that we're going to be looking at. So what I have prepared for you today, be able to see the chat. What I've prepared for you today is some arpeggio work over a blues. So of course, you know, I've written the guided guitar arpeggio practice routines book, and that's out now. Get a copy on Amazon, link in the description. And in that, we're really going overboard on arpeggios. Now, for me, arpeggios are the foundations of the way I think of the guitar. They're the foundations of the way I think about harmony, because when we play over chord changes, chords have a sound, and every note that I could play in relation to that A7 has a sound. So if I play this note, it's strong over the chord, whereas this note isn't as strong over the chord. It has a sound, an impact. And I think of arpeggios as being an organized way to understand the hierarchy of notes over a chord. The closer you are to the root note in vertical form, the stronger. I'm deciding if I like the word stronger. Yeah, we'll go with stronger than a note sounds. The further you move away from a chord, the more colourful a note becomes. So I think that's pretty. That's a simple way of looking at it, but it's the basic idea. This isn't another guitar, Chris. I've had this for quite a while. I have two of these. This is the Gibson Howard Roberts Fusion. I have two of these. I have a black one, which you guys have probably seen in a lot of videos, and then I picked this one up last year, which is a sunburst one. I always wanted one of these because Brent Mason has one in his instructional video. Yes, so arpeggios. And what we're going to be looking at today is a blues. So arpeggios on a blues. Now, I know that a lot of you guys are probably, when it comes to, if somebody said, let's play a blues or blues rock or whatever, however you choose to think of that, most people's default approach is to go and play minor pentatonic, right? Maybe putting in that blues note. Whatever it is that you happen to do. But minor pentatonic is one of the first sounds that people go for. And I want to put a little bit more thought into the notes that are actually in the chord, and therefore focus on playing the arpeggio. So if I jump on over to the first example for you, I'll bring it up on the screen. So it's going to look like this. This is just an A7 arpeggio. Very simple, and in what I, of course, would call E shape. Fits around this chord form. Now, what we want to do when we're practicing is work towards having a thing in our muscle memory. The muscle memory is very important for this sort of thing. So what I'm going to do is I am going to set up a little loop on my loop pedal. I'm a big user of loop pedals when I practice, just of an A7 sound. And then I'm going to practice the arpeggio over the top of it. So if I sit with my looper and I go, and then I'll play my arpeggio, just 8 notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And now for me, practice is about this, right? This has to be completely automatic. While I'm doing this, I'm talking to you while I'm doing it. Just like at this picking motion. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. I don't want you to be economy picking like this. I want this consistent picking motion. Triplet. Sixteenth notes. So that's our A7 arpeggio in our E shape form. So big believer in just drilling that. You really want to make sure that that is in, because we need to know all of the notes that are in the chord before we can start adding notes that aren't in the chord. And the beauty of that as a pattern is, of course, it's movable. So if, for example, I wanted to play that through the circle of fifths, after A in the circle of fifths comes D, so I'd play A. And I could just move this up to D. After D comes G. After G comes C. After C comes F. After F comes B flat. After B flat comes E flat. A flat. D flat. G flat. B. E. And then we're back at A. So what I did there is I played my dominant 7 arpeggios through all 12 keys, just using one shape. Now, in the long run, we don't want to be limited like that. We don't want to be stuck just playing, one shape as we move around the neck. Where in the world am I located? I'm in Scotland. Where in the world am I located? I'm in Scotland. Learning materials you provide are fantastic and hugely appreciated. Thanks very much, Spencer. Yeah, well, I'm going to mention it again. If you are enjoying this and you want more detail, check out the link in the description. You get a completely free downloadable PDF file and guitar profile of this. And this is really just kind of samples of a lot of the material or a lot of the teaching approach that I cover in my book. The new Arpeggio book is out now. So please do go and consider grabbing yourself a copy of that on Amazon. If you want to spend some money, that's a good way to do it. We're at #1 in the charts at the moment, but more is always better, right? So yeah, that's our arpeggio. And we have to spend a bunch of time getting really, just make sure I've got all my examples set out. Yeah, we have to spend a bunch of time getting really comfortable with that movement. Once we're comfortable with the E shape, before looking at an actual blues, I want to have more positions under my fingers. So this is where we go to our second example. Now, of course, I would call this the C shape. This is a root note on the A string, and I'm playing it with my pinky finger, or my third finger, depending on how I choose to fret. So I jump up to the 12th fret, and my arpeggio, 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 1, 3, 5. If I wanted to go all the way down, we could do that too. But in the written example, the way we're going to play this, so we can loop it, is and we're just going to, same again, going to put my loop on. And I just put the time going around this. Familiar with the exercise of routines for guitar intermediate level? Yeah, so in there I talk about the circle of fifths a lot. So this is our C-shape arpeggio. Has to be second nature. Triplets. Sixteenth notes. And then that's a bit fast for the alternate picking. Definitely fast for the 16th note triplets. So 16th is. I'd want to economy pick that to get the 16th triplets. That's my C-shape arpeggio. And again, you know, we want to spend a bunch of time with that C-shape arpeggio, just becoming really comfortable with it as a motion. So you don't ever have to think about it. If I wanted to play circle of fifths again, I won't go the whole way around, but after A comes D. D comes G. Whoops, C. F. I could take that around the circle of fifths, and I need to know that shape just as well as I know the E shape. It's really important that we know that shape just as well as we know the E shape. So, you know, currently we are just working on making sure we know the shapes. Don't worry, we've got some more musical vocabulary. We've got some really interesting sounding licks towards the end that I'm going to teach you. Always go back to my soloing school series. Do I have plans to continue this? Well, I think of this content as soloing school, you know. I think of all the videos I make as fitting under that umbrella branch. But to be honest, since I started doing the weekly guided practice routines over on Patreon, which I've been doing for 145 weeks, a new practice routine goes up every Monday at 9 o'clock, half an hour video, me talking through the routine and then playing the routine, you play it along with me. I've done that for 145 weeks, and I'm going to keep doing that. That's where my focus goes. So if you really want, you know, lots of in-depth stuff, that's the place to go. Tangential question. What level of difficulty do I think the arpeggios at the start of Eugene's trick bag are? Enormously challenging for me. It's funny that you picked that particular example. I can't remember how to play them, but we actually covered that. We did like 3 or 4 weeks studying that in my weekly guided practice routines on Patreon. They are, upper intermediate. I would say upper intermediate. It's advanced in the sense that it covers a lot of ground. You know, you're having to cover a lot of positions on the neck. But I wouldn't necessarily call it like super advanced, because at the end of the day, they are just ascending and descending arpeggios. Minor triads, there's dominant 7 in there, a couple of dominant 7s in there. But at their core, it's a technical workout rather than a really musically challenging thing. So that's what I would say. Those weekly guided practice routines surely give you a lot of material to pick for the books. Love the recent book output, although missing you. I'm going to be doing a ton more YouTube videos. I'm going to be doing this type of stream at least once a week now. Hey Levi, plans to release a guitar album or something? You have too much knowledge. I have an album, Victor. If you go on Spotify and you look for Levi Clay, you will find I have the Out of the Ashes complete collection, which I released a long time ago now. I can't play any of it anymore, but there's a lot of shred on there. So that's there. I actually did just release some, I played some guitar on a release that just went out. It's not under my name, but I'm not promoting that just yet. Promoting the book, and then I'll promote that in the coming week. Tension and release. Everything is about tension and release. Right, cool. So we need to finish this up and do our third position. So if I jump on over to my guitar, third position is on screen for you there. This is what I would call the A-shape arpeggio. Goes from the root note on the A string, just like the C shape, but now I'd be using my index finger or my second finger. Now this gives me a little bit more range, allows me to get up to the flat 7. If you wanted to, you could put the root on top. But as with everything before, we have to put this on, and spend our time feels really boring at eighth notes. So triplets. Sixteenths. I'm not going to spend all day on that because these are the boring ones. But that, of course, is the nature of doing these arpeggio practice. You have to put in the time. Oh, my watch is on workout. I'm not working out anymore. You have to put in the time, making sure you know the positions. That's so very important. And we should be able to, if I play like a faster, I just stick the 16 notes. I should be able to. If I changed the key, so let's say I go to F. Without thinking about it. They're in there, you know. That has to be drilled in. We have to just know those absolutely cold. Okay. So for the next example, this is where things get a little bit trickier. This is where you're definitely going to want to download the sheet because I can't have this on screen because, as you can see, it's too long an example. But what we're going to do here now is start dealing in the difference between, you know, Eugene's Trick Bag, which was brought up there, which of course is largely based on Paganini's Fifth Caprice. And those arpeggios at the start are very reminiscent of the way that like Jason Becker would play that. Lots of people play that, where they put the big arpeggios at the start just to set the piece up, if you like. And they are, as with many arpeggio examples, I keep saying example, as with many arpeggio pieces, they are exactly that. They are like a composed thing that you play. And when you play a thing like that, a lot of the effort as a guitar player goes into the memorization of where to put your fingers, okay? But what we're looking at is ever so slightly different, because what we were looking at doing here is we're looking at improving our ability to improvise. We're looking to improve our ability to outline chord changes spontaneously and melodically. And the way we're going to do that is by putting less of an emphasis on long composed lines that are a challenge for our hands. And I focus my teaching on making sure we're creating a lot of challenge for your brain, for your mind, okay? So in order to play this example, what we're going to do is we're going to take the 12-bar blues chord progression in the key of A, and I've put some jazz changes at the end just because I wanted a few more chords to outline. Now, you have to know this. You can't apply arpeggios to a chord progression without knowing the chord progression, right? So when I'm playing a blues in A, I've got an A7, the 1 chord, which goes to the 4 chord, D, back to the 1 chord, repeat the 1 chord, 4 chord. You can stay on the 4 chord. There's another chord that you can do, but we'll come to that. Back to the 1 chord. Now we're going to put the turnaround on there. We'll go 6, 2 minor, 5 E, back to our 1 6 2 5. So, my brain when I'm playing that, when I'm processing that, is 1, 4, 1, 1, 4, 4 again, 1 to 6, 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5. Now if I loop that actually, so if we go, four chord, 1 chord for 2 bars, 4 chord, 1 chord, 6, 2, 5, 1. So all we're going to do is we're going to go So what did I do there? I just outlined the chord progression just with ascending arpeggios. And what I tend to find is I get a lot of students that come to me and they have a lot of good, high-level technical ability, and they can do things like Eugene's trick bag. But when it comes to just doing a thing like this, they will say, okay, well, I need to learn it. I need, give me 5 minutes so I can learn it. And then playing it becomes a memorization thing, showcasing memory. But when I'm doing that, I could play it for you and talk to you while I'm doing it, and apparently make mistakes. 4 chord, 1 chord, 6 chord, 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 4, 5. Apparently I shouldn't talk to you while I'm doing it. Like a real pig's ear of it. But at its core, I'm just expressing arpeggios through a chord progression that I've got very clear in my mind and I can hear very clearly in my mind. I cannot be clearer about that. When playing a thing like this, when working on a thing like this, when studying and practicing a thing like this, it's no good for you to sit down and go, okay. And then it was... And then, we go back, yeah. You can't work like that, okay? I mean, you can practice like that, but again, all you're really working on by doing that is you're trying to improve your memory, like your muscle memory for things. And we're not looking for that. When I'm doing this, I'm very consciously thinking, while I'm playing this, where am I going? I'm going to a D. You can maybe even make it easier on yourself. Play the first arpeggio, A, just the root note of the next chord. Then A again. Then we've got D. Then A, F sharp, B minor, E, and then we'd have now this is outlining the chord changes, right? I'll flip it round. I'll play the first 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Whoops. 2, 3, 4. Oh, we were actually going. Apparently, my brain can't think. So throwing, challenges at yourself like that, where time doesn't stop. That's so important in practice. You will never improve your brain's ability to think about the fretboard and listen to music and react if you don't train it to work under pressure. Okay, so giving ourselves that pressure of playing something in time is very, very important. Very important. So make sure that you head on over to, where is it? There. Make sure you head on over to the link in the description and download a copy of that sheet, because it's very important that we make sure we know the chord progression. So important, because I'm going to make this more challenging in the next example, much more challenging in the next example, actually, intellectually challenging. And you can't do stuff like that with muscle memory. We're trying to challenge the mind. So let's have a look. So for this exercise, is it best to have the muscle memory of the different shapes already in my head? Just for, yeah, 1,000,000% raster bend. That's why we started by warming up with those arpeggio patterns, because these are things that just have to be automatic. When I'm playing the guitar, when I'm improvising, when I'm playing, like, because improvisation is like the main focus of what I do when I play live. I play songs, sure, and I know the songs, but occasionally there's a specific part that I'll play. But for the most part, the fun part about playing is, let's see how I play the song this time. That keeps me fresh on stage. That keeps me excited about playing, rather than when I was younger and I would be going. And you've got to play exactly that, or. Whatever it happened to be, those were all like memory things. So this is, when I'm improvising, I can't hesitate. I have to know. It doesn't matter if I play this. If I put my finger here and an A7's happening. Sorry, I improvised some chord work there, right? I have to know. Now, of course, that's a shape, but if I did it like this, I could. It doesn't matter. I didn't need to look at the fretboard when I did any of that, right? Because I'm so clued in to the sound that I'm trying to play, and all of these fingerings, I've played and practiced them so much that I don't ever have to think about any of it, right? Do I look like I'm taking transcription requests right now? Right, let me prep the next example. So we will go here. So this is the next example. I'm going to walk you through this because it looks much more complicated than it is. So this is one of the concepts that I cover extensively in, here we go, in the book. Do this, can't I? In the new book, the Arpeggio book, Guided Guitar Arpeggio Practice Routines. Go and grab yourself a copy now. Let's go back to the example so I can talk you through it. How aware are you of the intervals towards the root during your improvisation? So hyper aware that it almost takes the fun out of music. You know, if I play, like, I can improvise over an A and stop and say that's the 9, that's the 4, there's the 3rd, there's the sharp 4, there's the 5, the root, the 3rd, the root. Like, it's all in there. And all the lines that I'm playing are really, I think of intervals as ingredients, you know, and a chord tells me what ingredients work with it. And then I'm combining those ingredients to my taste. And I couldn't do that if I didn't have a good understanding of the intervals, the ingredients. Anyway, so this example, this is actually a more advanced concept. So what we're doing here is when an A7 happens, your default position might be, oh, an A7 is happening. I'll play an A7 arpeggio. And that's fine. All of those notes work. You have the root, the 3rd, the 5th, the 7, and the root. when I'm improvising like that, just the notes of the arpeggio. The 1, the 3, the 5, and the 7. Now that's great, but a more interesting thing to do would be to play what's known as a 3 to 9 arpeggio. So what we're going to do here is we're going to play the A7, and then of that chord, we're going to play the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th, and the 9th of that chord. So rather than playing 1, 3, 5, 7, we'll play 3, 5, 7, 9. Now this adds colour to the chord progression, right? If I come back up here, we would have that 9 is colourful. If I play 3, 5, 7, 9, it's colourful. Now that as a concept is something that we should be able to do around our E shape, 3, 5, 7, 9, E shape higher octave, 3, 5, 7, 9, A shape, 3, 5, 7, 9, or our, what's the word I'm looking for here? A shape, 3, 5, 7, 9. I guess you could go 3, 5, 7, 9 like that as well. These are all, technically these are melodies, right? And they all... they all sound great over that particular arpeggio. So what we're going to do from that point is do that for each one of the chords. So when the A7 happens, we'll play the chord, then we'll play 3, 5, 7, 9. Now the next chord was a D7, so I'll play my D7 and I'll play 3, 5, 7, 9. Then the A7 happens again, 3, 5, 7, 9. Now here's where things become interesting. We then have an A7 that's going to a D7. So I'm not going to play 3, 5, 7, 9 now, and you can see all of this if you look closely on the chart. I've put intervals above each one of those notes. So go and download the PDF, click the link in the description, go and get the free PDF and the guitar profile. I'm not asking for a penny from you for all of this hard work. Go and get it, and you'll be able to study this yourself, okay? So from there, once you've done that, and you're on that A7 that's going somewhere, I'm going to play 3, 5, 7, flat 9. Tension, right? That gives me this sound. And this is one of the beautiful things about arpeggios. We can use them to imply sounds that the chords aren't necessarily even playing. So we have... and then I'm actually going to go... we're going to go to our F7. That's what I'm going to play there. I'll show you that in a second. Then B, E7, A7. Well, then we'll go. I'll walk you through that in a second, because there's a lot of stuff going on there. So it's just being confident to always be able to think 3, 5, 7, 9, or if I'm specific, 3, 5, flat 7, 9, 3, 5, flat 7, 9, 3, 5, flat 7, 9, 3, 5, flat 7, flat 9, 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, flat 7, 9. Over the diminished, I'm just going to play a diminished arpeggio. 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, flat 7, 9. F7. I'm going to play same principle because F7 is going to B minor 7. I'll play 3, 5, 7, flat 9. 3, 5, flat 7, flat 9. But my ear kind of wants it to resolve down to the root. But, you know, what's for sure is 3, 5, 7, 9 sounds really wrong there. It's not the right note. That's really the note that we want there. outlining chord changes. I'm just playing arpeggios. So F7, 3, 5, 7, flat 9, B minor 7. So we have options. We can play 3, 5, flat 7. Oh, sorry, flat 3, I guess. You want to be specific. I just say 3 to 9. So flat 3, 5, flat 7, 9. And then E7 happens. Again, 3, 5, 7. I'm going to play flat 9. So just I'm outlining the chord changes with this particular exercise. So if I bring it up on screen, not that one, sorry. That's what we're doing next. So I bring that up on screen, we go. And then the way I've written this part is we go. So if I lay down a loop for you, slow it down. D9, A7, A7 flat 9. So you could hear I outlined the chord changes with that, and it's just arpeggio. I'm just playing the notes of the arpeggio, but I'm thinking of a different arpeggio. I'm playing 3, 5, 7, 9. Now, if you want to be pedantic, you could say, okay, well, 3, 5, 7, 9 over an A7 chord is a C sharp minor 7 flat 5. So we're playing a minor 7 flat 5 from the third of the chord over a D7, F sharp minor 7 flat 5. When the chord changes, I play F sharp 7. This really is like a diminished 7. Sorry. I guess I'm thinking from the third of the chord. It's like an A sharp diminished. We've all played diminished arpeggios. And over the B minor, you could look at this and go, oh, this is like a D major 7 arpeggio over B minor. But I want you to think 3, 5, 7, and 9. It will help to drill in the idea of, or the reason behind it, why we're playing these particular arpeggios. Now, you can put endless time into this. You know, when I played it, I'm starting in the lower octave, but I don't have to start down here. I can play 3, 5, 7, 9. When the D happens, I don't have to play. I could play. Then when I go back to my A, I could play it there. And then A7 flat 9. Go into my D. Then we go into our F sharp. So let's play. Or. And then we're going to B minor. B minor. Maybe I go B minor. Looking at the fretboard helps. That's here's B. 3, 5, 7, 9 of B. And then we're going to E7. And then A. F sharp, B, E. Now I'm going to show you some lines in a second that's going to really help you put this together. But I just want to show you one more trick that's like really, really cool. And when I got my head around this, when I understood this, it instantly allowed me to both play and hear arpeggios in a different way. Because when I play over A, 3, 5, 7, 9, there's nothing that says I have to ascend. 3, 5, 7, 9. I could play 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 7, 9. It's the same notes. C sharp, E, G, B. C sharp, E, G, B. We've put some octave displacement in there, which changes the contour of the line, but not the harmonic information. I'm still playing a 3 to 9 arpeggio. If I don't want to ascend, maybe you do. Maybe you want to go. You know, to understand that this is a D7 arpeggio. 3, 5, 7, 9 of. You could hear this connection, right? I'm targeting the third of D. So if I play the chords behind that, if I go. That's arpeggio. That's, you know, by and large, arpeggio. Flat 7 arpeggio. That's an enclosure. So root, flat 7, 5, and then I'm just walking chromatically up to get to the third of D. And connecting it with a line. Connecting it to a line, I should say. So it doesn't matter where we are, you can put those octave displacements in there and they always sound really good. Like if I'm playing B minor, I can play, but I can also play. Now you've heard lines like that, or at least I hope you have. If I go, it's not an E7 arpeggio. Let's try again. So all this stuff is I'm just outlining chords, and you know, I've been sneaky and said arpeggios on a blues, but to me, and I'm playing all this stuff, and it sounds like I'm playing jazz, right? Because it's kind of how I'm thinking, right? But I think playing just normal stuff over a blues is very simple and very easy to do. And when guys come to me for lessons and they're wanting to learn more about playing changes, and a lot of blues guys come to me, they want to sound more sophisticated. What they're really saying is I want to be able to play over changes. And it's like, well, okay, well, to be able to play over changes, we have to work on playing over changes. We've got to really focus on, can I play over chord changes? So it's important, I'm reading Alan's comment here, so important for intelligent soloing to connect with the guide tone lines. Exactly, yeah. When I take a 12-bar blues, as silly as it might seem, and this is an exercise I make you do in that book, if I play a fast blues, right? Third, 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 third. Apparently that's too fast to really hit changes on it, for me, apparently. Anyway, I got a little bit distracted there. So pentatonic shades of chromatic notes sorted. Yeah, you got it, Michael. So the part that I want to focus on for the final part of this lesson, and I'm just going to remind you, download the PDF, download the guitar profile so you can work through these. It's very, very important that you put in the time to study it. You don't just want to hear me say these things. You want to go and put in the practice time, okay? I'm showing you practice. This isn't just a lesson. You're going to see me doing some practice here. That's what I'm all about. My entire thing, if you look at the website that this is all on, is guidedpracticeroutines.com, because I'm focusing on teaching not just how to play, but how to practice. So what I'm going to close out with is what I find to be the hardest part of playing over a blues, which is playing that turnaround at the end. 1, 6, 2, 5. A7, F sharp 7, B minor, E7. Because in order to outline those chord changes, you've got 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. You've got 2 beats on each, right? So it's easy to go and just play the blues scale over it. But to outline the chord changes is another thing entirely. So if we take a look at the first example that I've written for this, it looks like this. So this is example 6 on the PDF. If I play through that really, really slowly, well, what do we have here? We start on the root note and we're going to ascend up an A7 arpeggio. And then we're going to connect that to our 3, 5, 7, flat 9 of F sharp 7. That's going to resolve to the 5th of B minor 7. And I'm going to come down, which is just B minor 7 arpeggio, 5, flat 3, 1, flat 7, and then over my E7, 3, 5, 7, flat 9, and then we're going to resolve to the 5th of A. So if I lay down a little loop for you, I'll answer that question in a second, Michael. So if I go... again. So look, the third of the 1 chord leads to the flat 7 of the 4 and 5. The third of the 1 chord leads to the flat 7 of the 4. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. The third of the 1 chord resolves to the flat 7 of 4, or yeah, that totally gets us there. But I went out of my way to do, because the 6th chord is non-diatonic, so you have to be really careful to hit it. Now, if I play that a little bit faster, it's just arpeggio. I'm playing just arpeggio notes there, right? Let me answer Michael's question. Quick question, if you have time. Does playing modes 4 and 5 of melodic minor work in a blues, seeing as they're both dominant 9 chords? I can never really get it to sound that good when I try. Thanks. Yeah, it's a good question, Michael. So mode 4 of melodic minor is Lydian dominant, which is like a really nice sound and absolutely works on a blues. we'll come back to it in a second. Mode 5 is trickier. It's Mixolydian flat 6. I don't think it works so well on a blues, no. And the reason it doesn't work so well on a blues is it's a very unstable chord sound because it has the flat 6 in there. So it's got a very Aeolian, dark, serious quality to it, and the blues doesn't have that sound to it. I think the most important thing to do with any information like this that you're working on like that is to make sure you can express the chord as or express the mode as a chord, and then know the sound of it. So when I think Lydian dominant, I think of this or this, and you have to ask yourself, can I make this chord work? If you can't make the chord work, you'll never be able to make the arpeggio or the mode work, right? So if I'm playing a blues, if I go blues in A, just do the first part. So blues. So you can totally make that Lydian dominant thing work. You hear Robin Ford do it a lot the way I did it there, which is playing it as chord 4 on a blues. Scott Henderson uses a lot of Lydian dominant. He will use it on the 1 chord, and if you're really confident, you can make that work too. If I go... Me playing like me though rather than like Scott because I swing everything. Yeah, so you can make Lydian dominant work, but Mixolydian flat 6 is too dark, it doesn't really work. Mixolydian flat 6 I always think of as being like this sound going between it's too serious. Hopefully that makes sense. Very nice musical concepts when you are playing ascending lines using Mixolydian. Yeah, you could do that, or ascend the arpeggio and go down a scale. Anyway, so back to the line, which was this. So I'll just play it one more time, nice and slowly for you, and then I'll show you some other ways to do it. So. That's our first way. Now, if you keep that consistent picking in there, it's going to help with your timing. I can swing hard or keep it very straight. Let's try again. And it's just that, the consistent motion of the picking hand that allows me to do that. So let's take a look at the next example, which is this. So if I look at this nice and slowly for you, actually, before even looking at it, if you look at the contour, look at the notation, not just the tab, okay? You can see that there's a leap in here on that B minor 7 where we jump from a high note down to a low note. So it's cool to look at something like that and have faith that, oh, this is still an arpeggio. We're still just playing arpeggios here. So what am I going to do? How do I do this? Well, we're starting on the 3rd of A. And we're going to play 3, 5, 7, 9. And that resolves to the B flat, or technically an A sharp, which is the third of F sharp 7. And we're just going to come down our F sharp 7 arpeggio. And we'll then move up a semitone, which will get us to the third of our B flat, our B minor 7. 3, 5, 7, 9. Just with the octave displacement. And then we're going to go. Now it's very unjazzed to end on the root note like that, but the same idea is true. We're playing over an E chord. 5, 7, flat 9, 3. It's just like a diminished 7 flat 9 sound. Resolving to the root. So if I play the chords very slowly. We outline the changes, right? We go. So we're outlining those chord changes just using arpeggios. Now if I speed up, get rid of the loop. So there's that lick, and it's again, it's a nice one, and I think that for me, licks are it's a weird one. Like, I'm gonna bring my face up for this. Licks are an important part of guitar playing vocabulary, in the same way that language is an important part of language. I know that's a silly thing to say, but all these phrases that I'm saying here, you've heard all of these words before. You've heard all of these words in this sort of order before. Maybe not in this exact order, expressing this exact sentiment. But you've heard these words and phrases used before. That's why they make sense to you, because they have meaning. And all of the stuff that we play on the guitar, we want to have a similar level of meaning. It's not good enough to just take a scale and just expect to be able to play from it. Oh, why doesn't it sound like a lick? Why doesn't it sound like music? Oh, it's because you didn't play any rhythm, Levi. Okay, well, I'll play with rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. Got a little bit more musical towards the end there, because I tried to play a little bit more content. Yeah, I guess. A little bit more traditional like contours would be the best way of putting it. But yeah, a lot of guys, when they come to me for lessons, they want to be able to improvise, and they're like, well, I know my scale, so why doesn't it sound good when I play? And the answer is because you're not phrasing correctly. And how do we learn to phrase? Well, we have to copy the way people speak. So we've looked at 2 phrases so far. I'm going to show you a third one, and then we'll look at creating some of our own. So here's our third phrase. We're going to start out with that 3 to 9 with octave displacement. 3, 5, 7, 9. The chords are a separate audio track. Well, they're not a separate audio track. I'm playing them on my loop pedal. 3, 5, 7, 9. And then we transition. Can I read that correctly? Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was reading the wrong chord. I was seeing an F sharp, an E, and it's not. It's a yeah. So my screen's a bit far away, and my eyesight's terrible. So. To hear that this could all be scale is wild to me, because how can that be an arpeggio? It sounds like we're playing scale. But 3, 5, 7, 9, 3, 5, 7, flat 9, 5, 3, 1, 7, 3, 9, 1, 7, which resolves to the third of A. So again, slow loop. I play it slowly, it sounds like this. Outlines the chord changes. 2, 3, 4. And in the long run, we want to be able to improvise with these. We want to improvise lines like this. This wasn't me going into my lick bag in order to show you these when I was writing these examples out. This was me sitting down to write some examples for you based on the types of vocabulary that I already know and play, right? So if I play it faster, 1, 2. Already forgotten it, like it's not on screen, so give me a second to think about what the line was. Oh yeah. One, two, three. Every single one note that I played there was, in my mind, a note from A7, a note from F sharp 7 flat 9, a note from B minor 7, a note from E7 flat 9. So I'm just playing notes of the chord. So how do we do something with this? How do we take it from exercises where you're learning licks verbatim to creating your own vocabulary? And the answer is very simple. We just need to write some of our own, pen and paper or Guitar Pro or however you want to do this. And you're looking to be as smooth as you can with the notes. So let's say, for example, that I start on the root note A. Now, moving up is going to be a big task based on where I put my hand. So I won't do that. I'll come down. I then need to ask myself, well, how do I get to my F sharp from here? And the answer is I go to the third of F sharp. Then when I get here, I have options. I could continue descending. I might go. We could put the flat 2 in there. I could go. Then I want to go to B minor. B minor would be. That's 3, 5, 7, 9. But I could stay diatonic 3, 5, 7, 1 if I wanted to. that just sounds better. So we'd have. Each one of those is an arpeggio. Maybe I do this. Maybe I go. That's me outlining those same changes. A7, F sharp 7 flat 9. Then for my B minor, maybe we could do that, or which is 5, 7, 9, 3. And then I want to go to my E7 flat 9. Maybe we go. Let me read Michael's comment because I think it's very, very important. I was never a fan of learning licks from guitar magazines, for instance, because I thought, when exactly am I going to plug that into my playing at the right moment? Wish I tried a few more of them now. So it's like he has the revelation there of I wish I tried a few more of them now. Like, I remember hearing Eric Clapton play. I always use this example, playing. Okay. When was the last time I played that in a solo? Hopefully never, but I probably have. It's not just about learning the lick and then, because at no point when I've showed you these have I said, okay, now I'm going to play the 12-bar blues and I'm going to plug each one of these in at the end. No, we're doing this and learning these and working some out so we can understand how people use the language, the vocabulary. There's 12 notes and we're learning how different styles use them. It's the reason I can play country. I can't bend on this because I've got 13s, 14s on it, so these aren't really bendable. So I can't do the bending licks, but it's the reason I can do that and sound like it's country-ish. And it's the reason I can play something that sounds rock, or the reason I can play something that sounds gospel when I go like. That's just not country, right? Totally not country. It's a different sound. And that's come from learning things from other people, learning how other people use notes. And then you experiment with them enough that they become yours. So this line where I'm going. It will work if we're trying to remember what I played. Now, I don't love it, but it works. It works. So it's about just looking for countless ways to do it yourself. Not to just learn the licks that other people play, but using it as a springboard to go, that's how he, one of my most popular YouTube videos, it was two things. I have two things that are popular. One is making licks from triads, and one of them is combining major and minor pentatonics. And I always find it bizarre. Why? I shouldn't need to teach people how to combine major and minor pentatonics. You shouldn't need to learn tricks to do that. It's not like play this pattern and then play this pattern and then you're combining major and minor pentatonics. When I combine major and minor pentatonics, people ask, how do you do that? And the answer is, I'm just speaking a language that I've heard other people play. Yeah. So I've learned that this is minor pentatonic. This is major. And when I combine them, That's me just combining sounds in ways that make sense to me, and it's such an underrated. It's like we've been missold, or we haven't had strong logical figures in our life that could explain to us when we were making an error in judgment. Because I do get it. I see it all the time where people come to me and they're like, "Oh, but I don't just want to learn licks." And I hear them and it's like, I don't just, these make sense to me, want to learn, yeah, I know what that means, licks, I know what licks are. Everything you said to me was just you repeating things that you heard, and you used the things that you'd heard, or the words that had a meaning in order to express an idea. It's no less improvisation. It's not improvisation if I pick up my new book. That was a good plug, right? Guided Guitar Arpeggio Practice Routines. If I picked this up and opened it and started reading from it, right? But we don't have to stick to those patterns, and we can create something with even more range, as in the following example. Notice how I ascend and descend slightly differently. This variation helps to keep me on my toes. That wasn't improvisation. That wasn't improvisation in the slightest. That was me repeating something. I could repeat that 100 times, 1,000 times, and at the end of that, I'd probably have that paragraph that I just read there memorized, right? Then I'd be able to recite it and create the impression of improvisation. But it would just be an impression of improvisation. It wouldn't truly be improvisation. Now, if we put the book example aside, so I'm not reciting something memorized or reading from a page, how is what I'm doing now when I speak to the camera not improvisation? Yeah? This sentiment, I cannot tell you how many times I have expressed this sentiment to people, to my students in lessons. But I can also tell you that I've never expressed it with this exact collection of words, in this exact order, with this exact cadence. I'm expressing an idea, the ethereal, if you like, and I'm using language, vocabulary, exaggeration, like hand movement and stuff like that, in order to express my idea. And to me, learning scales is the same as learning the alphabet. It's not language. You have to look at how the language is used, just as we did with our speaking. You didn't learn to speak in school. You learned to speak not via a teacher, but by copying your parents. And now you're a fluent speaker in your mother tongue. And it's the same with music. You have to put in that time to do that. So what I want you to do is, well, aside from the obvious, which is head on over to the link below and download the sheet so you can practice these. But I want you to be able to put on a chord progression, be it a 12-bar blues. It could be a slower blues. It can be a minor blues. If I took not that. If I took something like The Thriller's Gone, B.B. King, The Thriller's Gone. It's a minor blues, but it's got that flat 6/5 movement in there. So I could arpeggio. So, I could play over that for hours because I have a lot of fun when I'm playing over something like that. But it sounds very different to BB King, of course. I could do the BB King imitation on there, but I'm playing... It's almost like I'm imagining how I would play over that chord progression. And what does it mean when I say I would play over a chord progression? Well, I'm a combination of all of my influences, all of the things that I've practiced, all of the things that I've studied. But there's nothing to stop me dialing it back and going... It's not how I play over it. Summon some George Benson, right? So hopefully that makes some sort of sense, because that's how I teach that stuff, and that's what I think is very, very important. It doesn't matter the style. You've got to... When I was playing over that, like, I'm not stressing about the chord progression. I know the chord progression. So it's like I'm improvising on the B minor, and it's like I target. It's like I'm playing... I'm going to target the E. No, the third of E. 3 to 9. The root. It's there somewhere. So, yeah, that's all I have. Right, if anybody has any questions, I'll sit here for another 10 minutes and answer questions. But hopefully you've had some fun with that, thinking about these particular exercises. And if you spent some time with the 12-bar blues, just going... I could go around that all day, and I'm just playing arpeggio. So arpeggio it's so much more than what we think of when people use the word arpeggio. It's so much more than just running up and down patterns. It's so much more than just showing off technical proficiency on the instrument. An arpeggio is just the notes of the chord, and there's no better way to be able to play over the changes than to play the notes of the chords. And it doesn't matter what chords get thrown in front of you. The chords are the chords, and if you know them, it doesn't matter if you're playing this, or yesterday we played Donna Lee, or you could play like rhythm changes or giant steps in jazz. But you could also take something like Hotel California, some lovely chord changes in Hotel California. Or actually one that we play live from time to time is we'll do like Creep by Radiohead, and we play it as like a 6/8 feel. When at its core, there's chord changes, right? Okay. I don't know why I picked this one, but sometimes Mel's like, let's do Creep, and I'm like, sure. stop when I put my foot on there. Let me down. Cool, 2 minutes. I'll just do the quick plug. Right, if you've enjoyed this, well, first of all, head on over, get the download sheet so you can get the PDF and the guitar profile so you can practice along with all of the stuff. Come back and watch the stream again, practice all those concepts again. I'll be back. I'll be doing another one similar to this next week. And yeah, I'll have a download sheet for you and we can hang out for an hour and a half and just play some music and get better, because this is all about getting better on our instrument, right? If you want to support me financially without just taking the freebies, you can head on over to my Patreon page, link in the description, get access to hundreds of transcriptions, ear training lessons, weekly guided practice routines, piano for guitarists, which I haven't put on that list actually, private lessons, and much more. I guess the much more covers the piano for guitarists. So join us over on Patreon. You can do so for as little as $1, and every little penny helps. If you don't want to do that, well, you could also go over to my Patreon store. You can get all the guitar profiles for all of my books. Again, another great way to support the channel and support my work, my hard work. So maybe consider doing that. And if you don't want to do that, well, head on over to Amazon. Get a copy of Guided Guitar Arpeggio Practice Routines. You'll come to that, Rasta. Guided Guitar Arpeggio Practice Routines. This is the third part in my practice routines series, where we look at scales, then chords, and now finally arpeggios. So it's really the culmination of a solid 6 to 8 months of work getting the 3 of these done. And I hope you grab a copy and support me, and come to a gig maybe, and I'll sign a copy for you. No, but seriously, I really do appreciate it. I've also been putting a subscribe button up on screen, and it would be appreciated if you do subscribe to the channel. That's obviously a huge help, and it's very much appreciated. And RastaBen95 says, why not both? Yes, why not both? Go and get the free PDF file. Why not all of them? Get yourself a free PDF and guitar profile. Sign up to Patreon. Go and buy one of my guided... go and buy one of my guitar profile bundles on my Patreon, and then go and buy a copy of the book. If you all do that, then, I won't have to worry about rent this month, which would be nice, right? But seriously, I love and appreciate you guys. And I do content like this. I do live streams like this, and I make YouTube videos. I've got 1,500 YouTube videos. It's a lot of YouTube videos. And I don't make them because YouTube makes me a ton of money. It doesn't. My YouTube channel now, after doing it for nearly 10 years, might make $300 in ad revenue a month. You can't live on that. I don't make content like that because it's a big profit turner. I make content like that because I'm passionate about all the stuff that I make. I make videos about things that I enjoy. I talk about things that I'm excited about, and I don't want to take sponsored content for things that I'm not excited and passionate about. So I don't. The offers have been there. I turn them away because that's not who I am and it's not what I do. So if you never put a penny in my pocket but you just enjoy watching the YouTube videos, share them with your friends, that's totally cool too. And yes, hit the like button, as Chris points out. Thanks for that, Chris. Anyway, I've been Levi Clay. You've been absolutely awesome. I'm going to head, and I will see you for another stream